Welcome to Fuel. Fuel stands for Finance, Unity, Empowerment, Legacy. Join us today as Matt, Dr. Jackie, and Dennis discuss the first part of our topic, From Pillar to Post, Breaking the Chain of Being Financially Illiterate.
It's that lottery mentality which messes people up. Because when we say lottery, we're thinking about 20 million, 10 million, 5 million, 500. But the truth is, if it's a dollar and you don't do it right, you lose it. Most lottery winners end up broke after 5 years or some number I've heard.
Right.
And it's like, okay, if you don't know how to handle a dollar, you won't know how to handle 1,000. You won't know how to handle 10,000. You won't know how to handle 1,000,000. And so the onus, I use that word for Dr. Jackie. The onus is on you to learn how money really works. And if you really understand the banking system or fractional lending, man, that'll blow your mind. And just in case no one knows what fractional lending is, a bank can take your $1,000 and loan out 90% of it to another bank. That bank can take your $900 and loan out 90% to another bank. But on their books, it says 1,000, 900, 800, 700, 600. Then they can loan it at up to 39%. And the bank that they loan the money to got to pay them back also. And where do you think the money came from in the first place?
Right.
You. And they're giving you 0.0 some crazy number. It don't matter what number it is, whether it's a 9 or a 2, you're getting ripped. And it's scary. And that's just part of the fractional lending. Then we got mortgages. Oh my God, scam city. But they got us all trying to buy these $2 million houses, but it don't matter. Even if you buy a $200,000 house, they're going to tear you a new one. So a buddy of mine was talking about this company that helps you pay your house off. Now, I'm only speaking for me, but I told him that's the craziest thing in the world. He said, what? Don't you want to pay your house off? I said, and have a dead asset? He said, dead asset? What do you mean? I said, if you got a $300,000 house that's paid off, you got $300,000 that ain't doing nothing for you. Who cares about the stupid house? You're going to die. Somebody going to get that house for $30,000 and send it on to the next person who going to get it for $40,000. And then the market's going to crash. It's going to be worth half. How do I know? Because it happened to me.
I'm not laughing at you.
I didn't feel the situation. I didn't know. I had all these houses and the market kept going up. And man, next thing you know, I'm worth millions of dollars. I'm like, woohoo, can't spend none of it because it's all tied up in the house. Right. So that's called house rich and cash poor. I think that's the term they use. So I had all these houses and everybody's telling me I'm rich. And I'm like, but I can't get $10,000 out unless I sell one of my houses, which they call refinancing. I had to refinance to get money out. Then you owe more money than you took out.
And you owe more.
So it after a while, I was sitting there like, oh my God, somebody gave me 2 shovels because I done dug a big hole. And then my tenants would stop paying rent. Then the court system was against me because my skin is too dark for the court system. The judges were always nasty to me. And I'm like, I don't know these guys from Jack Adam. I paid for all my licenses. I paid my trash pickup. I made sure the mortgage was paid on the first. And the judge is nasty to me. And I'm like, but I'm doing the right thing. I'm paying my taxes. And I'm like, you know what? The court system, Richard Pryor, court system ain't no place for a black man. So when the markets crashed, and I lost all my houses, was the best day of my life because the stress went away. I didn't have to worry about plumbing, electrical work. I didn't have to worry about paying my manager. I didn't have none of that stuff. And I said, I'm going back to the simple life. And simple is depends on where you are. You got to define your own simple life. But man, after that, I realized that my biggest mistake was putting all that money in those houses. Not having them is great, but putting all my money in them was not good. Because when the markets crashed, I emptied out my bank accounts trying to keep my houses. I emptied out my stock accounts trying to keep the houses and still lost the houses because they're not yours. I know everybody walk around saying, oh, that's my house. That's my house. And they get mad at me when I say that ain't my house. That house belonged to the bank. Mm-hmm. The bank owned that house. No, you owned it. No, I'm just using it for right now. And they're going to find a way to take it back. So when my friend said, you want to pay your house off, I said, buddy, I don't want to pay my house off. Matter of fact, I want to get another mortgage for another 40 years. He said, are you crazy? All that money you're wasting? I said, man, I take that 300,000 and invest it, turn it into $1 million. I'm just picking a number. I'm not telling you how much my house is worth. Turn it into $1 million. Then take that $1 million and turn it into another $1 million. Now you can live the life of your dreams. So I know I'm vamping all over the place, and I apologize. But I was just saying that I don't ever want to be cash poor because cash is king. Another friend told me that. He said he wanted to get his driveway done. And the guy said, yeah, it's, $400 a month for 5 years and blah, 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 blah. And he figured out how much $500 a month for 5 years was. He said, well, what if I give you cash? It was almost half price.
Yeah. And that reminds me, my feelings, if you have to buy a car, it's so much, you come in with so much more power, bless you, when you can walk into a dealership and you got cash, because you can talk all the trash you want. In fact, honestly, the last time that I did it, I just said to the salesman, take me to the finance dude, because I know what I want. So you don't have to sell me on what I want. So just take me to the finance dude, because I got a number, and it's going to be my number, and if you can't make it my number, I'm out.
That's right.
So to your point, you can make great deals. It's like back in the day, because I've had so many jobs. At one point, I was managing a mattress store, and we had certain kind of customers. So if a customer just came in and they had the cash, they would just pay what we call full boat. But we would call it in the industry, we would call it a lay down, because the lay down means that you didn't have to do any salesmanship. They knew what they wanted. They just bought it. Okay. Then you have another customer that comes in and everything is about negotiating price, but they don't have any cash.
Don't laugh at me.
You know what I'm saying? So, but the third kind of person has the cash, but still knows how to go in and make deals. Okay. We call it the bartering system, well, maybe that's not quite bartering. Maybe it is, but it's not bartering. Sorry. But it's about being able to go in and saying and understanding that in a retail business, they're going to have a high, mid, low. Okay. There's going to be a point in the price of anything where it's at what you call manager's cost, and they can't dip below manager's cost. So if you can catch them anywhere in the middle before they get to manager's cost, you come out with the deal full boat. You own it. You own it. So you're not paying rent on your mattress. By the time you pay it off, the mattress is all dinged up and all filthy.
You need a new one.
You get it full, you get the full value. So, the problem is that most people have been mind manipulated to buy on time. So, man, if I can put that thing on layaway, in 36 payments, I own this, right? and we think that it's good because we can handle $10 a week or whatever, okay? But we don't understand that you are making the retailer filthy rich.
Well, before Jack, sorry, Dr. Jack, he jumped around so much. I wanted to say something when he was talking about paying the car off. The car is simple interest. The house is compound interest.
Yeah.
So we got to keep those two separate only because paying off a car with simple interest is better for you, at least in Maryland. Virginia, you got to pay tax on car every year, so I don't know. But the house is compound interest. So that's against you, not for you.
Okay.
And I forgot the other thing I was going to say. Something else you just said. I was like, but go on, Dr. Jackie. I'll think of it in a second.
I was just going to chime in with the fact we're now talking interest. And so not only not understanding how money works, there's a lack of understanding of interest and how that really impacts your purchasing power and using up your money. And so as it relates to the car, you walk in with cash or you walk in with a pre-approved loan. It's the same thing. It's not them saying, I have a deal for you. You say, this is what I want. This is the amount I'm spending. Can you meet it or I'll go? And they want the sale. The bottom line is they want the sale. And so the cash just means you can take the whole car. The loan, you still paying, but you got already negotiated what your interest rate and et cetera. But there is a need to understand the impact of interest. And as Dennis just said, simple versus compound. So that was all I was going to say.
Right on. I think the other thing I was going to say is, what is your mentality? Mac and I were talking earlier about the lottery mentality versus the financially educated mentality. And if you notice, lottery winners are pretty much broke after 5 years, before 5 years. And matter of fact, there was a story on YouTube or somewhere, Facebook, I don't know where it was, but somewhere in Atlanta, the gentleman won $30,000 in a lottery, bought a $20,000 gold chain, and then somebody snatched the chain away from him. So he turned 30,000 into 10,000 in a day. That is, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use color here, forgive me. No, I'm not gonna use color because people do some crazy things. Instead of turning that 30 into 60 or 90, he turned it into 10 because we always buy depreciating assets. We're trying to look good for the Joneses. And this is why we do financial literacy, and this is why we talk about our personal experiences, the hope that somebody can see from one of the three of us what we've been through and how you can change your life or adjust your life to make your money work better for you.
Yeah. The thing I think about is when you're starting out, when a young person is starting out in life, they can either go one or two directions. So the first direction, you can but you can rent an apartment, but have the Mercedes Benz that's brand new sitting in the parking lot. Or you can wait a little while, actually put a down payment on a home that you can eventually own, and maybe you're driving a hoopty. but you're getting there. You're getting from A to B. So it just depends on what direction you want to go in. If you're trying to impress, you're going to be the first example. And it's a bad situation because either way, you're paying time on the car and all of your rent money is going to the renter or whatever. Not the renter. What is it? The rentee?
Landlord?
I don't know.
Landlord.
The landlord. Yeah, that's good. That's it. All going to the landlord. Okay, the landlord is being made rich, and you are just throwing whatever that amount. It's going nowhere. It's doing nothing for you, but providing temporary shelter. And then even then, you might have a situation where the landlord doesn't even take care of the upkeep. So you got a whole lot of things going on. And my thing is like, if you're going to start off, try to start off where you're already at least going in the right direction. Now, you may not be able to buy a house straight out, but at least if you are putting yourself in a situation where you can own that house and you don't have a car payment, you're doing way better than the first example.
So let's use another word, debt, because this is a debtor nation, and the United States government is so much in debt that we, the people, will be indebted for our whole lives. We'll never be out of debt. Because I was just asking somebody, I think Matt, was I asking you this, where they get the money from for the stimulus check?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they tax you every year. They give you an extension on your taxes, but now they're giving away, whatever people are getting, $1,400, $600. If you got children, you get a little bit more. And you got to sit there like, well, where's this money coming from? They're creating more debt that we have to pay back. So he said you will be paying the landlord. So for my real estate friends who believe that they own their houses, you have a landlord too. Way back, the landlord was the king. And then after that, the landlord was the government. And now the landlord is still the government. Have you ever heard of eminent domain? If you've never heard of eminent domain, you look around the country, the government is taking people's land. And the person that they're taking it from say they're taking my land. The government said it wasn't your land in the first place.
In the first place.
So eminent domain, and look, be honest. Don't pay your taxes on your house. If you don't think you have a landlord, if you think that house is yours, don't pay the tax. Now, if you go buy a shirt and you pay that tax on that shirt, you don't pay tax no more. It's your shirt. But if you buy your house, you're going to be paying tax every year, no matter what. So you got a landlord. They call it whatever they want to call it, but everybody has a landlord, at least in the United States. I know in some of the islands, if you buy your house, you actually own it. Not here. So I just like, when people are delusional and they come at me and they get mad at me because I say, I don't ever want to pay for a house. I'm going to take my money and put it somewhere where I can live better. You got to live somewhere. You got to have some kind of shelter. But you got to be realistic about what that shelter is. Yeah, when you buy a house, you're just more responsible for that house. When you rent a house, you're just less responsible. That's the only two words that I care about. You're either more responsible or less responsible.
Okay.
And even when you buy a car, you still got to pay tax every 2 years in Maryland. They call it registration fee. Yeah. Okay. You didn't know it was my car? I have the bill of sale, but you got to register it with the state so that you can drive it on our roads. Wait a minute. Didn't we pay for the roads? So
Yeah.
I just like to, look at things deeper than what people say. They say you are the owner, but you're just more responsible for it. So how do you want to live? You want to go out and brag that you pay cash for your house, and then you realize that you got 200,000 locked up in a freaking house that's falling apart. And whenever you need money to do anything, you got to sell the house to yourself. What kind of sense does that make? But that's how our system is designed, you know?
Well, you know that one other part, that house that you said that's falling apart, and let's say you actually were able to pay off and that house is still falling down all around you, that property tax is going up.
And property, oh my God. What?
Property tax is going up.
Oh,
So I'm living in a house that has not changed in any element of it, but I get an assessment from the government that says, because of the improvements that you have made on your house, your property is now valued out and you will be taxed as per the value that we have decided you have made. Now, next door neighbor may have made some, around the corner may have made some. If you're in an area that's being gentrified, your property tax goes up. You have done nothing to your property. You do not own it. And so as it goes up, those of us who are on fixed income, are the elderly in our neighborhood, they're losing their homes, their homesteads that they would have as a legacy for their children because property tax went up because they made so many improvements.
The sneaky word is gentrification.
I did say that, didn't I?
You sure did.
That's the sneaky word.
Yeah. Can we dissect that a little bit?
Well, I have a friend that he sold his house for this nice profit and moved out of Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Now he can't afford to move back in because of gentrification, which is just a good term of we're moving out the poor. Excuse me. We're moving out the poor and we're moving in the wealthier. So every day when you wake up, you better be running like the lion or you won't eat, or you be running like the gazelle or you're going to be eaten. You know, and what happened in DC, in some of the neighborhoods in DC, you know, I've been here for a long time, they put in a subway system. And when they opened up that subway, gentrification began in earnest. And they moved all them poor Black folks out of there that been in them houses since the 20s, 30s. Moved them out like they were nothing. Put in Starbucks. Outdoor eating. Police officers.
Put in grocery stores and restaurants. Like
grocery stores and restaurants.
Like, what is it? We're not going to eat otherwise? Consumption, to look at that.
Yeah.
Well, they closed, I think on Georgia Avenue, they closed a giant. It was a big giant on Georgia Avenue. They closed it. And now all the people in the neighborhood, now they got to have a car to drive to another neighborhood to go to Giant to buy food. Now, where that Giant used to be, I think it's a Safeway or something. I don't even know what's there now. But on top of that is a luxury apartment complex.
Okay, so let me correct you in it, because
thank you.
If you're talking the area that I'm talking about, it was always a Safeway.
Okay.
It was a rink-to-dink. You'd walk in and think, oh my gosh, am I really I might see a creature. I mean, it was really rink-to-dink, but it was what we had. And the only time you could get anything better produce or whatever is you go out of the neighborhood, but that's all they figured. That's all they figured that those who lived in that neighborhood deserved. So I'm gonna put it to you like that, because obviously they can change it, because they did. When the area was gentrified, on the one side is the subway, on the other side is the big high rise on top of what do they call it? Retail. So multi-use. And they put a Safeway that is in competition with anyone else. So it's still the same company, but they didn't do it until then.
And they also put a subway in, right? Then they put a subway outside.
Subways are across the street. comes up at the, yes.
right inside the store. Because I worked in construction back then, and I saw where they were putting subways and where they were putting those high rises. Now we're talking neighborhoods where the 2-story houses, they putting in these 10-story apartment complex, luxury apartment
Luxury,
complex.
yes.
And the worst thing is, now they're doing this to everybody, whether you're black, white, Hispanic. They're putting in the thing they call mech mansions. They go into these neighborhoods, they put these 10,000 square foot houses in neighborhoods that had 2,000 square foot houses.
Yeah.
Man, the game is being played on all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This concludes part 1 of our topic today. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Fueling Future Generations. Also, feel free to reach out to us at fuelingfuturegenerations2020@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you for part 2 next week.